Have you ever wondered why one of the most powerful leaders of the Democratic Party is facing calls to resign from within his own ranks? Most of us tend to think that Senate Party leaders are those who receive absolute support from their allies, but reality is far more complicated. In this video, we will decode the reasons why Chuck Schumer, the head of Senate Democrats, is being pressured by fellow senators and progressive factions within the party to step aside. To understand this, let's go back to a simple example. Imagine a football team at the most critical point of the season. They need a stable strategy to avoid losing, but some players want the coach to be more aggressive, attack more, change more. The real problem begins when these two perspectives, pragmatic caution and a strong desire for bold change, collide head-on. In the case of the Democratic Party, Factor A, Chuck Schumer chooses a pragmatic approach of negotiation to avoid a crisis. For example, voting for temporary spending bills to prevent a shutdown. Factor B, a group of senators and progressive movements want a more forceful approach, arguing that Schumer no longer fits the party's need for renewal. When these two forces meet, they create a complex situation. The Democratic Party must maintain legislative stability while proving they are strong enough to pursue larger goals, and Chuck Schumer is standing right at the center of that conflict. To understand why the dissatisfaction with Chuck Schumer's leadership has surged so strongly, we need to analyze three layers of causes. 1. Schumer's pragmatic leadership philosophy, the progressive wing's expectations for renewal, the generational gap and cultural shift within the Democratic Party. Let's go through each part with enough depth to cover the entirety of this internal conflict. 1. The pragmatic leadership of Chuck Schumer, when an old strategy no longer fits a new political mindset. First, Schumer is the type of leader shaped by the old political structure of the Senate. Compromise, finding middle ground, avoiding extreme confrontation, and maintaining the stable functioning of the legislative system. How Schumer approaches power. Imagine Schumer as someone balancing on a tightrope. If he leans too far to one side, too soft, he's criticized for conceding. If he leans too far to the other side, too tough, he risks paralyzing the Senate. Throughout his time as majority leader, Schumer has chosen to keep the rope moderately tight, avoiding conflicts that could trigger shutdowns, budget crises, or unnecessary legislative blockades. The problem emerges when the context changes. However, the political landscape of the United States is no longer what it was 10 years ago. Voters are more polarized. Younger lawmakers want to assert themselves. Social media demands fast, strong, decisive action. Advocacy groups exert public pressure every day. Yet Schumer continues to operate under the old philosophy, prioritizing stability above all. This makes a portion of the party feel that he no longer matches the new tempo of modern politics, where doing nothing is sometimes viewed as weakness. The expectation for renewal, when the progressive wing wants to hit the gas while Schumer is still holding the brakes. If Schumer's leadership philosophy is minimizing risk, then the progressive wing pursues a vision of maximizing gains. Imagine these two forces as the brake and the accelerator in the same car. Brake, maintain safety, avoid accidents. Schumer's perspective, speed up, break through, make an impact. The progressive perspective, why do these groups want Schumer to be more aggressive? The progressive wing believes the Democratic Party is standing before a historic opportunity to push major reforms such as expanding healthcare, stronger regulation of finance and banking, judicial reform, environmental and climate protection, labor rights, tax reform targeting the wealthy. But they believe Schumer has not taken full advantage of these opportunities even when the party controlled the Senate. The internal feeling of, it's time for change. Some younger senators argue, we can't keep playing defense. We need a leader who can inspire, not just manage. The issues are too big for a safe strategy. This explains why the pressure to replace leadership is becoming increasingly visible. It is not just a reaction to a single spending bill, but the accumulation of many years of unmet expectations. 3. The generational gap and the shift in voter psychology, the deepest underlying cause. This is the most important part, and also the one many people overlook. The dissatisfaction with Schumer is not only about policy, it is also about generations. Changes in the Democratic voter structure. Over the last 10 years, the Democratic Party has seen a sharp increase in young voters, greater concentration in urban areas, social media becoming a driving force, Movements like the Sunrise Movement, Black Lives Matter, March for Our Lives applying constant pressure. Young voters want stronger language, clear action, bold messaging, fighting spirit, deep reform, while Schumer belongs to the generation of negotiation, de-escalation, maintaining stability. The competition between leadership models. This is the clash between the old model, holding firmly to Senate rules, relying on compromise, operating behind closed doors, moving slowly but steadily. The new model, open communication, community-driven politics, message-centered strategy, willingness to take risks, demand for fast results. Younger factions within the party believe party leadership must reflect the future, not the past. Who could replace Schumer? The fact that names like Chris Murphy, Brian Schatz, or figures under 55 are being mentioned reveals one thing. This is not merely criticism aimed at Schumer, but the sign of an approaching generational shift. A classic example of this tension is the vote on the spending bill to avoid a shutdown. Schumer votes in favor, keeps the government open. But some Democratic members say this causes them to lose important leverage to protect programs like healthcare. Progressive groups, such as Move On, publicly voiced opposition. Some senators, like Michael Bennet, hinted that it's time for leadership to know when to step aside. And this directly affects the trust of progressive voters, unity within the party, negotiating power in the Senate, and even the results of the next elections. When grassroots voter confidence weakens, the party struggles to mobilize support and fundraising, which directly impacts every major race. So, in summary, the most important thing to remember is Chuck Schumer is facing unprecedented pressure from within his own party. The cause does not come from a single decision, but from the clash between two leadership philosophies, pragmatism and renewal. The future leadership of Senate Democrats will depend on whether the party prioritizes stability or moves toward a bolder, new vision. Next time you see debates about Democratic Party strategy, remember, politics is not just about votes, it is a competition between different leadership models, visions, and expectations within the same party. Thank you for watching this video. The content is intended for analytical reference only. We do not represent any organization or media entity.